Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Let's Talk ETC. Carlo can't be with us today, so I'll be doing the show. I have Chucksrq with me today. I've enjoyed his comments, witty comments on the ETC Slack channel, and he has a lot of skills, he's making a lot of contributions to the ETC project. And so we're going to find out a little bit more about him today. And he's also knowledgeable about initial coin offerings, or ICOs, which are all the rage these days. So I look forward to hearing what he has to say about that. So Chuck, welcome to the show.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. So what I like to do at the beginning of the show, me and Carlo, is we like to find out about all the interesting people working on ETC in some capacity. So I know you've said you're an ETC dev volunteer and you do some marketing. Why don't you just start by saying how you got interested in this technology, kind of give a little background.
Sure. I last summer, actually, I was just wanting to play poker online. And one of the ways you can deposit on Bovada, which was formerly Bodog Poker, is you can use Bitcoin. Okay. And so that made me remember that I actually bought some Bitcoin back in 2013 to go in a prediction market. Okay. And unfortunately, I had my old address and key, and I looked it up, and there was nothing there. I was pretty sure that I deposited on the site, but the site went away, or I lost it in one of the predictions. I don't recall, but it got me really interested in Bitcoin again. I totally forgot about the poker. I started reading up more and more about it, and then I got into Ethereum, and this was before the DAO hard fork. Okay. And so I bought some Ethereum, and I was really interested in it. I was really following it, and I just went, full-fledged, all my spare time into learning more about it. Okay. And then we had as you know, the DAO hack, where people invested all this money into the DAO, and I was really, I almost had this fear of missing out, right? With the DAO tokens. Everyone was buying DAO tokens. It seemed like a really cool venture. What I really didn't like the most was that so many people were buying it, kind of ignorant of what it could do. And also that once you put your money into it, it was really hard, really time consuming to get your money out.
Okay. So are you saying that you did buy DAO tokens?
No, I didn't. Oh, okay. Because I researched it a little bit. I went on the DAO website, and it even specifically said that there could be the possibility of a catastrophic bug that loses all the money, right? That was one of the warnings that they had on their own site. Okay. So I was like, you know what? I don't want to put my, Ethereum into some entity that could lose all my money due to a bug.
Sure.
And it seemed just really risky, and so many people were putting their money in without researching that. It seemed like a bubble at the time, right?
Yeah, I can support what you're saying. You're reminding me now. So I remember there was a couple days on the Ethereum Reddit subreddit that it was like almost every single article was about the DAO.
Well, I mean, it was the only ICO at the time, really, right? I mean, this was the first one. And so this was the first real use case for Ethereum outside of these betting sites, these Ethereum betting sites, right? Like Ethereum and Roulette, right? I mean, these were the only real Ethereum apps at the time that were of any use to normal people. And so this investment opportunity presents itself, and it sounds really cool, right? A venture capital firm with nobody at the top, that everyone's part owners. I mean, it sounds really cool, but you have to read the the small writing, right?
The fine print. Yep.
The fine print. Thank
Yeah.
you. I was looking for the words there. And lo and behold, what was it, like maybe 2 weeks later? Not even.
Yeah, it wasn't that long.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't even that long. It was like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You wake up, the Dow's been drained. A third of the money's gone. This hacker has it.
Mm-hmm.
All the exchanges have frozen Ethereum trading.
Yep.
Because Vitalik asked for it. They're actually talking about a hard fork. Just a disaster, right?
Yes.
Just a disaster. And just the talk of the hard fork upset me. That they were even considering it, and I sold 2 days later.
Okay.
And for the most part, they thought that they only had to do a soft fork, but I was so upset about the thought of doing a hard fork to get back the funds that I sold. And I was honestly looking into getting into either Monero or Expanse.
Okay.
With the money that I sold from Ethereum, that I had kind of put aside. Okay, this is going to be not Bitcoin. This is going to be something else.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Ethereum because of the ability for it to do smart contracts, but they lost me with this talk of a hard fork that they even that the community's even talking about it. So, I really looked into putting it into Expanse, and their team just didn't impress me. And I was probably going to put it into Monero, just go full-fledged into Monero.
Okay.
Because I really like their community, which I think is kind of similar in ethos to Ethereum Classics. And I really like, Fluffy Pony, their lead developer. And, their roadmap is interesting too. I like that they have privacy. I like that, they can scale. I really think they have something going for them.
Now, I'm curious, when you say that we have the same ethos as Monero, I presume you're talking about the values of the community. So you don't just look at the technology, you also kind of look at the principles. Am I understanding correctly?
Correct. Yeah. And right now the only 3 coins that I'm invested in are Bitcoin, Ethereum Classic, and Monero. And if you'll notice, there's a lot of similarities between the 3, right? There's no pre-mine with all 3 of them. There's no ICO that started all 3 of them. There's no treasury system, right? Whereby where some of the rewards from the blockchain go to the development team automatically, and I know some people are in favor of that, but I'm personally not, and that will be something that will be divided for ETC in the future. And
so from the way that you're talking, it's clear that you are you're astute about the investing component. Some people are just interested in the technology, but you were thinking of multiple cryptocurrencies to invest in. So you obviously had some sense in the financial area. So that's pretty impressive. Now, you talk to me about what you did before you discovered Bitcoin. Were you a programmer, or what?
No, I don't know any programming or developing skill. I don't have any programming or developing skills at all, really. So my background is in economics and political science, and sales and marketing.
Okay, and so what? Sorry, didn't mean to cut. Go ahead.
And before I used to be involved with prediction markets online. I used to do trading back on intrade.com, if anyone knows about that. I also used to trade on predictit.org. And I really like predictit.org, and it's still around, but one of the things I don't like is their fees are really high.
Okay.
Anytime you win any predictions on predictit.org, they take 10%, and that's
Okay.
that's a big bummer.
Now,
Mm.
is it just enlighten me when people say prediction markets, is that just a euphemism for a gambling site? Basically, people bet on whatever, and then some people use the odds that people give as almost like a polling data. Is that correct?
Yes and no. In a sense, it is kind of very similar to gambling,
Okay.
right? But at the same time, I could say that about options trading,
Yeah.
and derivatives trading. It's
Okay.
it's a lot of that is intelligent gambling.
Okay.
Um, what I would say is the difference between a prediction market and a regular gambling site is with a prediction market, you're betting against other users.
Okay.
You're trading against other users.
Okay.
You can buy into a position and then you can sell that position later.
Okay.
Whereas with gambling, you're making a bet against the house, and that bet is going to stand until the event is over.
Okay.
And you're going to win or lose based on the event, right?
Yeah.
With trading a prediction, right? I can buy into, for example, Hillary Clinton winning. Maybe her odds go from 30 to 50%, and maybe then I think, you know what? I think it was undervalued at first, but now I think it's overvalued. I'm going to sell at 50%.
Okay.
And you can win on Hillary Clinton's value going up, even though she might end up losing like she did.
Okay, so
right?
There's sophisticated, you're saying that there's sophisticated ways to make money. So just like options could be sophisticated, it's not, all right. Gotcha.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. A lot of my wins were on positions that didn't end up happening, but, they were either overvalued, and I traded it when it was undervalued to when it got overvalued. Or I bought when the stakes were really, really small, and they came out, to a win for me.
Okay.
So that's my background.
Okay.
And now I'm into cryptocurrencies.
Mm-hmm.
I got heavily involved in the debate on our Ethereum on the Reddit site against the hard fork. I didn't want to see it happen. I would have invested if they didn't decide to do it. I actually did some polling on our Ethereum twice to kind of read how the community felt about it.
Okay.
The polling that I did on our Ethereum was a lot closer than what the carbon vote ended up being.
Oh, yeah. So okay. So there was more support for not doing the hard fork to rescue the Dow funds. You're saying?
Yeah, I think personally, I think the carbon vote was kind of an excuse. To hard fork it. When that vote was so heavily in favor of forking.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. I had never heard any other information about polling data before the hard fork. So you're saying that you were involved with that. The carbon vote was the only thing that I knew of. So if you're saying that there's data,
yeah, let me look it up right now.
Okay. Well, we could also post it in the underneath on YouTube when we post the video. But yeah, I'll make a note to do that.
Here we go. I found it already.
Okay.
Public survey on Ethereum, July 16th to the 17th.
Okay.
Okay. We have here, it was a 16 question survey. There were over, let's see here. Well, this one. Okay, we'll go to the first one since there were a lot more votes for that one.
Okay.
This one was done. This was the first survey that we did.
Okay.
This was on June 23rd, 24th.
Okay.
Most out of the polling, there were like around 14 questions. Most people were 29 to 35 years old, between 23 and 50. So it's not so much a millennial crowd, right? A little bit older than you would think with Ethereum, and that makes sense, right? Because people in high school and college don't have any money, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Out of the poll, 93% are male. It kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But out of a thousand votes, 43 are female. So I mean, I was kind of surprised it was that high, to be honest.
Okay.
There's 43 females on Ethereum.
Now it's unfortunate because I think to do a scientifically accurate poll, it's much more complicated than.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So,
but I mean, how are you going to do a phone survey of Ethereum users?
Yeah. So I think ultimately we'll never know probably the true, percentages. We can just kind of guess from data like what you're presenting, which is okay.
Absolutely, I would agree. But here's the important finding out of the poll, right? Would you support a hard fork that would retrieve Ether from the dark DAO to return to the DAO? Yes, I would support, had 54% support.
Okay.
No, I would not support, had 28.26% support.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure, 15%. So that's a lot less than 85%.
Yes. That's right.
The carbon vote. Or the 90% that a lot of Ethereum users like to claim they had at the time.
Right. That's true.
And so I was against it. As soon as Ethereum Classic started trading on Poloniex, I bought some. I got involved. I decided to, since there wasn't a Twitter account for Ethereum Classic, or there was one actually, but I didn't like how it was being done. It wasn't being done enough. There weren't enough tweets. I decided to just make one.
Okay.
And because BitNovicy was like, if you want to do it, just do it. There's nobody here to tell you can't do it, right?
Yeah.
And there's no one to make it official. But so you just do it, or you don't want to do it. So I did it.
Okay.
And that's how Ethereum Classic was in the first month. If you wanted to be a part of it, you became you did it. There was no one to tell you that you couldn't do it.
Yep. Now, why don't you also say a little bit about what you do for ETC Dev? I know you're a volunteer with them.
Well, what I do mostly is I help them in terms of marketing.
Okay.
If I run the Twitter account for ETC, and it isn't just for the ETC Dev team, even though I align with them more than IOHK. But and I try to promote IOHK for their development of Ethereum Classic as well.
Okay.
And I just try to promote Ethereum Classic all the time for everyone, for our third-party projects as well, Stampery, BitTicket.
Okay. Now, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
I don't know anything. Well, I know a little bit, but not a lot about marketing. So you obviously use Twitter. Just enlighten us. What are some other ways, or maybe you think that maybe that's sufficient, or is there other? Give me the kind of the big picture.
Anytime I do post something really important, I do post it on Reddit as well. I do make sure it's seen on our Slack channel, the ETC Slack channel, as well as the ETC Telegram channel.
Okay.
But for major announcements, for most of the stuff I do, it's on Twitter.
Okay.
I'm also making YouTube videos once every couple of weeks. Once a week, twice. Once every 2 weeks.
Okay.
With on Taizan's cryptocurrency channel.
Okay.
I think you've talked to him once or twice.
Yeah.
And and so fortunately the Twitter has 38,000 followers these days.
Okay.
It's also how I keep up to date on the cryptocurrency community and find the latest breaking news that involves ETC as well, and bring it back to the community.
Okay.
Because sometimes we have things happen that everyone needs to know about. And I try to be that guy for ETC.
Well, yeah, we appreciate what you do. And by the way, I will also make a note to put a link to your YouTube videos if you want me to.
Thank you. I would appreciate that. That'd be great.
Okay. So, as you know, everybody's getting excited about initial coin offerings these ICOs, and there's lots of money being thrown around. And I know that that's something that you've been investigating, and you know a lot about that. And I'm sure that there's lots of people listening that are curious, what is going on with all this? Why is everybody talking about this all of a sudden? People that are just joining. So,
Right.
So for if my understanding is that an ICO is a way to raise funds by creating basically a new cryptocurrency, and so Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, by their very nature, are just perfect for that use case. You could easily make a token without having to make your own blockchain and get miners. So would you agree with that? Is that an accurate?
Correct. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so what are your thoughts on, like, why all this excitement? Why is all this money entering the ICO space now? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it gives investors, some more intelligent than others, the sense that they're a part of the project, that they have a stake in the project, that they have some equity, possibly revenue sharing when it's not revenue sharing. You know, so I do think that there is, to a certain extent, a lot of dumb money out there with ICOs, right? There are people putting all this money into, you know, the Gnosis ICO, the BAT ICO, when a lot of these tokens don't give you nothing in return, right? Or you can use them, but you can't use them that much. It's kind of just like, okay, thanks for donating to us, to our project. Here's a token in exchange, right? And they're not making it super obvious, you know, that's, you know, some of these ICOs aren't making it super obvious that's the case for the investor, well, quote unquote investor.
Yeah. So that was one thing that surprised me. I thought was interesting. So when you buy a share, like in a company, let's say in an initial public offering, an IPO, there's regulations. You're actually literally owning a piece of that company, and you have certain rights with that. But with an ICO, like you said, you're basically making a donation, and you're essentially trusting them to whatever promises they made that attracted you to that token. You're just trusting them to keep their promises, right?
Correct.
And so
exactly.
And so on the one hand, you could say, well, there's not as much regulation as there is for traditional securities, and so you have more flexibility to do innovative things, perhaps. But that's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing, because you don't have the protections. You have the flexibility, yes, but you don't have the protections. So you got to consider both of those.
It's kind of unfortunate that there is some regulation regarding securities and that they can be applied to these ICOs, because I think it would be a lot better if these ICOs did offer a token where they would share the revenues, right?
Okay.
But that makes it automatically qualify as a security, and the exchanges won't list it. And then you're talking about the SEC getting involved, and who knows what happens, right?
Okay. So what you're saying, see, I didn't know that. You're saying that there some ICOs are careful not to do anything that resembles a security to avoid legal issues. Is that
correct?
Okay.
Correct.
And then you're saying that the exchanges, the cryptocurrency exchanges, also don't want to carry it because they also want to avoid the issues associated with that. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And because Bittrex has made it clear to people who want to list their tokens on their site that they won't do it if there's what's it called, when they get revenue.
Okay. Dividends.
Thank you. Yes. If the token has a dividend, it's not getting listed on Bittrex, right?
Okay.
And that's smart on Bittrex's part, right? They don't want to get involved. You know, they want to avoid government regulation when possible, and government fines and impossible jail time for taking part. But there are some tokens still, even if you don't have a dividend, that doesn't mean it's not a security. right? There's the Howey test. You got to make sure it doesn't pass the Howey test.
Can you so like I said at the beginning of the show, it was clear that you're astute in the financial space, and so I don't know what the Howey test is. Can you enlighten the listeners?
Sure. The Howey test is how basically it's kind of like a rule of thumb of how the SEC decides if something is a security or not.
Okay.
Right. And there's a couple guidelines for if you want to know if it's a security or not. And
okay,
let me see if I can find out. I know I saw it somewhere real close. Okay, here we go. What is a Howey test? Number one, is it an investment of money?
Okay.
Okay, and it has to satisfy all three requirements. So just because it satisfies one or two doesn't mean it's necessarily a security. Is it an investment of money, right? Let's take like the BAT token, for example, right? This is called the Basic Attention Token. It's for the Brave browser. It's a token where you can pay so you can't see advertisements, right? With the Brave browser, is my understanding. Right? It is an investment of money. People are kind of expecting it to go up, so I would say yes, it is an investment.
Okay.
There is an expectation of profits from the investment.
Okay.
Right? They kind of expect to make a little money off of it, right?
Yeah.
The investment of money is in a common enterprise. It's a lot of people can pull. It's a pool of money from a cross section of people.
Okay.
And let's see here that any profit comes from the efforts of a promoter or third party. Right. So if they profit from the BAT token, it comes from the work of the Brave browser, the people behind the Brave browser. Right. So it kind of seems to satisfy those four, kind of conditions. So I mean, they're kind of straddling whether or not they're a security, and they would certainly say that they're not.
Yeah,
they've done a lot more homework than I have. So
there's some gray area or something, because I've read papers on ICOs where I read there was one paper in Harvard Business Review on ICOs where they said that the way that they define securities today, that these cryptocurrencies, these ICOs, don't fall under that umbrella. And so I thought that meant that in the future they would change the definition of what a security is. I don't know if you'd call that an improvement or not, but maybe that's what they would do, and then it would fall under the jurisdiction. Do you think?
Well, I would hope that they don't. If they don't fall under securities regulations at the moment, like I would kind of hope that they don't.
Okay.
Right. I think it's best if they, that the government won't get involved in this space and hamper technological advancement. I think the free market, if you make a bad investment, it's a bad investment. Get over it. But we're gonna find out, right? Soon enough if it's a bad investment. If some of these are bad investments or not.
Yeah, and I don't know if eventually, if enough people lose money and there's enough scams, that the public will call for. There'll be so much demand for regulation that the SEC will be forced to come in and regulate it. I don't know if that'll happen or not.
What I guess we're gonna find out, right? But for one thing's for sure, it's impressive how much money some of these ICOs are raising.
Yes.
The BAT ICO got 35 million in less than a million. I mean, in less than a minute.
Wow.
Which is impressive by any standards, right?
Yes.
So much so that people were complaining that they couldn't get involved.
Okay.
Because one person got 25% of the tokens.
Okay.
And 98% of all the tokens were taken by 100 people.
Okay.
So it wasn't very distributed, right? It didn't really fall under the kind of democratic notion behind these ICOs, that it's, that it's going to be very distributed, that the ownership of these entities is with the crowd, with the people, the fans behind the product.
Uh-huh.
And even though you can, and the price of the token already, on the exchange, on the one exchange that lists the BAT token, it's already up almost 10 times.
Okay, Now, see, the one, would you agree with this? So a few minutes ago, you were saying that a lot of these people don't make money in ICOs, or they don't get as much from it as they think they are. They lose money. But when you have things like this BAT ICO that does so amazing, then everybody just remembers that, right? And then on Reddit, you see these amazing ICO stories, and then people focus on those, and I wonder if they'll get the wrong impression. They think that they're all just going to grow 10 times really fast.
Well, I think they have the impression that all the big ones are probably going to be really, really successful, right? That but and I mean, they haven't been proven wrong so far with some of the bigger ones, right? Other than the DAO.
Yeah.
Right. As soon as it hit the market, the Gnosis token went and doubled, tripled even. The BAT token more than doubled, tripled its value when it hit the market.
Yeah.
And you can find it on Liqui Exchange, for example.
Now to be fair to the DAO, so it was improperly implemented technology, but as far as a fundraising success story, it certainly was successful.
Absolutely. It raised 150 million at the time, and Ethereum was only $15 to $20 at the time.
Yeah.
Whereas Ethereum is 225 each at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more Ethereum flowing into the DAO than flowed into yeah.
So what is your role right now? Are you investing in ICOs? Are you going to create some ICOs or help create ICOs? Kind of what's your
I have an idea for an ICO myself. I don't know if I want to pursue it or not. So I'll keep it private at the moment.
Okay.
I do just want to warn people that a lot of these cases behind the ICOs don't seem to make a lot of sense, right? And I've seen a lot. Basically, they're just donation drives, really, behind the project. And because I've read a couple of these ICOs and white papers, and I'm like, okay, sounds like a cool project, but what do you need a token for? What do you need your own cryptocurrency for, really? On top of Ethereum or on top of Ethereum Classic for, that makes sense. I mean, if you want to just say it's a sentimental token, say it.
Okay.
Be honest about it. Don't say, hey, it's actually really useful, it's going to be money for this, when most likely it's not. If you can use, in the white paper, if you can substitute the token with ETC or Bitcoin, and it still works the same, then what's the point, right? Because
I see what you're saying. So there's already good cryptocurrencies that are
right.
And so why do you need to make all these new ones?
Exactly. It's kind of like the episode of It's Sunny in Philadelphia when they make their own Patty's dollars, right? The name of the bar is called Patty's.
Yes.
And the bar owners, right? And if you ever watch the show, it's four idiots that just, they just try to all these get rich quick schemes, right? They make their own called Patty's dollars.
Okay.
And to try and make people come to the bar, they just give away all these Patty's dollars, and people spend them, and then they don't spend their own money, and they just end up, giving away beer for free, basically.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
Right. And so they're like, how does it work, right? Because they were trying to copy the Dave and Buster's model.
Okay.
Of where they create their own little reward program, right? I mean,
okay.
If you make a token and it's kind of like a rewards program, I could see that kind of working.
Okay.
But if you're just saying, yeah, now you own a little bit of Brave, but you don't really own Brave at all.
Okay.
Or Gnosis or Augur, or some of these tokens are actually useful. Some of them aren't. Some of them actually give you a dividend. Some of them don't.
Yeah, I would imagine if you created your own cryptocurrency, you could maybe do some things cheaper or innovative that maybe would be more difficult with, like with Bitcoin, the fees are higher, right?
Right. That's
So
that's correct. That's true to a certain extent. But why can you use ETC instead?
yeah.
The fees on ETC are super cheap at the moment. No one's going to complain about sending ETC and ETC has established market value.
Yes.
Right. That's only been going up for the last couple months. So
now this was another interesting thing about ICOs that I discovered. So I assume that they somehow buy these new tokens, via some smart contract or something. But my understanding is the way these work in general description, a general way is you announce on Bitcoin Talk forum, bitcointalk.org. Then you market your ICO, and people don't literally buy the coin directly. What they do is they donate to Bitcoin or Ether, like you were saying, to a escrow service. And then eventually all those funds and donations will get sorted out, and you'll be given the new token by some other means, but it starts with Bitcoin or Ether typically. So that was kind of surprising. It goes to your question about why not just, if you can use Bitcoin and Ether and you already are, why do you need the new coin? Yeah. Right. So probably what happened was some people used a new coin and it was effective, but then it just became like the thing to do, and people do it today. They don't even really realize or know why they're doing a new coin.
Well, the ICO that I do like is, if it's the one that's a smart contract and the cool thing is, on classicetherwallet.com, you can actually create your own ICO, and you can create your own crowd sale in less than 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically the contract that's been on Ethereum.org for over a year. Mm-hmm. They basically just made it in a clickable format on a website for people.
Okay.
To make their own token. And I even created a token a couple days ago called, just to play around, just to mess around. I made 10 tokens. It has a supply of 10 tokens.
Okay.
And but anyone can create their own tokens now. And you send money to the smart contract. You establish the price for how much tokens you're giving away for ETC. And it gives you the tokens automatically back at the address that you sent it from. Okay. And so that's kind of the cool ICO. Yeah, the one where you have the escrow service and you're dividing it all up from Bitcoins, and why make it so complicated? Just use the smart contract. That's what it's there for. Send some ETC, get back some tokens. Cool.
Oh, I just thought of, I do remember now one reason why you might want your own cryptocurrency. Let's say me and you had a successful blockchain startup, and if we only accepted ETC or Ether, ETH, then the price of the market cap would depend on the price of ETC or ETH. But if we had our own token, and we were doing awesome, people valued our startup, then our tokens might conceivably increase, much faster than ETC or ETH. See what I'm saying?
That's true. That's a good point. If let's say you start at 10 cents and it goes to $2, right? That's a lot bigger increase than ETC going from, because it's already at $16 from 16 to 20. Right? Yeah, it's a lot bigger percentage increase. So you can kind of start from the bottom all over again, which is kind of what people want, right? Yeah. They want the cheap token that has value in the future instead of buying high.
That's right. So I think that's clearly one reason why people need their own cryptocurrency, is so that you can affect the market, can value the company or the startup, whatever it is, initiative accurately. they have the
If it
ability
was
to.
like a share of the company, then I would agree. But the way there's some of these tokens work, I really don't see any. There shouldn't be any correlation between what the token is worth and with what the company valuation should be.
Sure.
Right.
So yeah. So I think what you're saying, one of the things you said was it's beholden on the entity, the startup, to make the token actually do something useful, right? Like maybe you have to buy, you can only buy their service with the token, and then
exactly.
And if they do that, then it has some value, some true value. Whereas you're saying that some ICOs you just buy. It's just like what,
for example, with the Gnosis token, it gives you the Gnosis token gives you these dividend of what they're called Wiz tokens. Okay. So it's kind of weird that it's a token that gives you other tokens, right? Instead of
that's right.
ETH, right? Yeah. And then on their website, you can pay the fees to use their prediction market service with the Wiz, right? With the Wiz tokens, but you don't have to use the Wiz tokens. You can use Bitcoin or you can use Ethereum, right? So, so why do I need the Gnosis tokens? Why do I need the Wiz, right? I can use Bitcoin. I can use Ethereum on their platform completely without ever touching their tokens. So what, so it makes no sense for people to say, wow, Gnosis sold 5% of their tokens. They made $10 million. Their company's worth $300 million. No. Sorry, that's crazy. If you look at the state of prediction markets today, and how popular they are, Gnosis is not anywhere near a $300 million valuation. Sorry, not even close. Okay. First, you got to get some users. Okay. Even the U.S. dollar prediction market, number one in the world, is probably less than 10 million. Okay. Total valuation. So for these people to say they're worth 300 million when nobody's using it compared to predictit.org is nuts. It's crazy. So there might be a big bubble popping soon in terms of some of these ICOs. Yeah.
Now, two resources that I'm aware of that people could use to research ICOs to do their due diligence is ICO rating, and then Smith and Crown. I don't know why they like to, they put a plus in their name for some reason instead of an ampersand. But those are two resources people could use. Do you have any other advice, any other thoughts on how to protect yourself from scams and bad ICOs?
Just do your own research. Read their own white papers. Okay. If their white paper doesn't make any sense to you, don't invest in it. Right? Yeah. Sometimes I think some of these entities make the white paper sound really, really complicated. That way they make you feel dumb. Okay. And they make you feel like you can't give it a valuation, and so you invest out of, fear of missing out of FOMO, and not actually giving it a fundamental value. Okay. Right. And I've seen a couple projects where I read the white paper. Maybe I'm not smart enough. I'll admit it to myself. Maybe I'm not smart enough to understand what I'm reading. But, sometimes I'm reading the white paper and I'm going, I can't even figure out what this thing's about. Why am I going to invest in it?
Yeah. So they might not, their intention might not be to explain it as clearly as possible. There might have other,
on purpose, to confuse people and make you want to invest when you shouldn't. Right? Sure. When if you knew what exactly it is you're investing in, you wouldn't invest in it. But they make you feel dumb, and they make you feel like, man, these people are super smart. I got to put my money behind these guys, because this is, and it all kind of stems from the fact that Ethereum started with an ICO, right? And now Ethereum's a really hot investment. If you invested in the Ethereum ICO, you would have done amazing by now. Yeah. So all these people that are getting into Ethereum late in the game are like, man, I missed the Ethereum ICO. I don't want to miss the next hot one. I want to get involved with some of these, and I'll give you an example. I have this Bitcoin meetup where I go to here in Tampa Bay. Okay. And at one of the last meetings, You know, that all the guys talked about, yeah, let's get involved in investing in these ICOs. I'm willing to throw some darts.
Uh-huh.
You know, basically it's, you know, to some of these guys, they're just throwing darts. They expect some of these to lose.
Yeah.
You know, they just want to get one where they hit 10 times on their money.
Uh-huh.
You know, or
Yep.
20 times on their money.
Yeah.
And that's all they need to make a profit on investing on 5 or 10 of them.
Yeah, I remember. So I'm old enough to remember the late '90s when the web was taking off, and there was the same kind of hype cycle about the web and web companies back then that people have now about blockchain companies. And then I saw that crash, and then I was in college. I was finishing my PhD at the time, so I didn't get involved with that. And then after that, the next hype cycle was the real estate market. You may have seen the movie Big Short. And so, and I was a victim of that one.
Right.
And so my sense is that young people, they have to lose money, and then they learn that, okay, we have to be really careful. You know, bad things could happen, and then maybe that's how it was for me. And so as I got older, then I'm more cautious about
right. And well, here's the other thing: people can admit to themselves, okay, we are in a bubble, but they think they're smart enough to be able to get out before the bubble pops.
Yes. Yeah, this gets into all kinds of psychology and
there are probably some people that are like, yeah, I know it's a bubble. I know crypto is a bubble right now. I know the ICOs are a bubble right now, but I'm gonna make sure I get my money out first. I can liquidate really quickly if they can or can't.
Yep.
You know, and and they're setting themselves up for failure when they don't know they are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And so that's the unfortunate thing, because once the bubble pops, if it does pop, if we are in a bubble, and I don't know if we are or not, to be honest with you, and that's the hard part. You know, I have a degree in economics, and I can't tell if we're in a bubble or not. My inclination is that we are, but I see even more ICOs down the line. I see cryptocurrencies with just such a shallow penetration of the entire market and community outside of it. I mean, like, how many people in real life even know about cryptocurrencies?
Yeah.
Know about ICOs?
That's right.
You know, our penetration is so shallow.
Yeah.
So for people to say we're in a bubble, I'm like, okay, but if twice as many people outside of the crypto community hears about cryptocurrencies, we're going to be fine. There's going to be so much new money flowing in that this is going to be a drop in the bucket. You know?
Yeah, that's right. Another thing that I thought of, would you agree with this, is so to be an investor, you have to not just follow the crowd. You have to think for yourself. Sometimes or often it even is beneficial to be contrarian, right?
Correct.
And so like I really appreciated Barry Silbert when he made an early investment in ETC. And, you know, of course, now he's done well. The price has gone up, but I don't know how difficult it was. He sounded so confident that, you know, this was going to obviously grow in value. But I imagine if you have all your colleagues saying, you know, you're making a big mistake, or what are you thinking, it could be difficult for some people to go against the grain, go against the crowd.
Absolutely. I mean, Barry Silver deserves a lot of credit. Deserves a lot of credit for what he did. And certainly some of the price increase has to do with his investment.
Yes.
You know, but at the same time, you know, I'm sure Ethereum Classic would have done okay without the investment trust. You know, maybe not $16 right now, but maybe $10. You know.
Yeah.
And because there's other investors out there, and I mean, he absolutely deserves a lot of credit for sticking in there, for putting the investment that he did, making the investment trust. You know, and now Ethereum Classic has, you know, an investment trust available to Wall Street investors, regular day brokers, that they can get involved with ETC, whereas a lot of them can't with Ethereum.
Yeah.
You know, and so, yes, it definitely pays off to be a contrarian sometimes. Or sometimes you got to go with the crowd to make money, right? And then but sometimes it pays off to be skeptical of everyone and everything.
Yeah, you always have to do your due diligence.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So, yes. So we've talked about your marketing work for ETC. We've learned about your background and how you got interested in ETC. You've given us your thoughts on ICOs. Did I miss anything? Is there anything else that?
Well, one thing I do want to mention real quick is the ETC dev team is going to release the Emerald wallet really soon.
Okay.
It's currently in like the design stages, the last final stages before we let it out. It's kind of going to be a rough beta.
Okay.
But it does sound like it's on schedule. I've seen a couple pictures of it so far. It looks good. A little rough, but it's getting there.
Okay.
And it should be exciting. It's going to be a new desktop wallet for Ethereum Classic where you can run your own node. And that way, so for people that aren't technically inclined to run gas and parity, like me, for example, I'm not very.
I'm a parity fan myself.
I can't figure out how to run parity, to be honest with you. You know, I've tried. It's not all that user friendly to me.
Okay.
Maybe you can teach me one day.
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
But you know, I used Mist when I could have, and unfortunately, Mist isn't working too well with Ethereum Classic these days.
Okay.
But the Emerald wallet is going to be its replacement. It's going to show off that the Ethereum Classic developers know what they're doing, are capable of doing anything the Ethereum developers are capable of, and I think it's going to really impress a lot of people. So,
very nice.
You know, we're excited about that.
We're looking forward to that. Yes, we'll be.
Yeah, it should come out in the next week or two.
Okay.
Is my understanding. Definitely by the end of June.
Okay.
You know.
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Chuck, for sharing this time with us and giving us your thoughts. And we all appreciate everything you do, and keep doing what you do. We definitely need marketing help. That's not something that I know much about. So
hey, you're doing a good job with these videos. So I wouldn't say you're doing too bad.
All right. Well, thank you for that show of support. All right. So have a good rest of this Friday then.
You too, but my man. You have a good weekend. Okay.
All right. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
If you are passionate about anything related to Ethereum Classic and you have something to say, we'd love to discuss that with you on the show. We're always looking for interesting guests, so don't be afraid to ask.